Episode title: 5 Dead in Minnesota. The chilling family murder-suicide. In a quiet neighborhood in Greenwood, Minnesota, a family of 5 seemed to be living an ordinary happy life. But behind closed doors, a storm was brewing. One that would leave 3 young children, their mother, and their father dead inside their own home. What really went wrong inside the Shorts household? And how did a seemingly loving family turn into the scene of one of Minnesota's most haunting tragedies? The Shorts family lived in a modest $2 million home. From the outside, they looked like any other family: 2 parents and 3 beautiful children. Karen Short, just 48 years old, was described as hardworking, nurturing, and deeply devoted to her kids. She worked at a local healthcare facility and was known among co-workers as responsible and caring. Friends say her children were her entire world. Brian Short, 45 years, was more of an enigma. He had a checkered past. Court records hinted at past guardianship interventions, and some who knew him suggested he struggled with inner demons. Yet to many, he was just another father, occasionally seen outside with the kids. Their 3 children, 1 boy, Cole 17, and 2 girls, Madison 15 and Brooklyn 14, were lively, cheerful, and known in their school community. Teachers recalled their enthusiasm and bright energy. Neighbors never suspected the storm that was about to unfold. September 10th, 2015 began as a cold, gray morning. But something was different that day. Karen didn't show up for work, something completely out of character. She had never been the type to miss a shift without explanation. Concern quickly grew among her co-workers. After multiple unanswered calls and texts, they decided to contact law enforcement. Deputies were dispatched to the Shorts residence for a welfare check. At first, the house looked quiet, almost eerily still. Curtains were drawn. No sound of children playing. The only noise was the wind rustling through the trees. When deputies knocked, there was no answer. They circled the property and noted the unsettling silence. That silence would soon give way to horror. When law enforcement entered the home, they were met with a scene too chilling to forget. Inside the residence were the bodies of 5 family members: Brian, Karen, and their 3 young children. The exact layout of the crime scene remains closely guarded by investigators, but what was confirmed was devastating. This was a murder-suicide. Authorities believe that Brian shot his wife and children before turning the gun on himself. The murder weapon was recovered at the scene, and the timeline suggested the killings had taken place earlier that morning. While the discovery shocked the community, investigators quickly uncovered a darker background. Even though there are testimonies that the Shorts family was calm and nice, but court records revealed that Brian Short had once been under the guardianship of the state of Minnesota. In 2006, a court order had determined that he was unable to care for himself due to unspecified issues. Though details remain sealed, experts suggest this points toward depression and mental health struggles. But how did those struggles spiral into an act so violent that it claimed the lives of his own family? Some images showing when their kids' high school classmates Nathan Kahn left and Nick Collins stood outside the Shorts family, and as well some neighbors being interviewed. Some friends suggested that the couple had been facing tensions, financial struggles, emotional distance, and possibly arguments behind closed doors. Yet no one could have predicted such catastrophic violence. The Minnesota State Police, MSP, quickly took over the case. The residence was sealed off, forensic units moved in, and the small community became the focus of statewide attention. Detectives documented the scene carefully, photographing, collecting fingerprints, and securing ballistic evidence. The autopsies confirmed that the victims died from gunshot wounds. Karen and the children had likely been asleep or just starting their day when Brian turned on them. Police also searched for signs of a note, a manifesto, or any explanation Brian might have left behind. So far, no such evidence has been publicly confirmed. The shockwaves were immediate. In school, local schools held memorials for the children. Teachers broke down in tears remembering their bright smiles. At workplace, Karen's co-workers described her absence as a gut punch, while people in the neighborhood left flowers, stuffed animals, and handwritten notes outside the Shorts' home. At a candlelight vigil, one speaker said, "They were too young, too innocent. No one should ever die this way." This tragedy echoes past cases in Minnesota and the Pacific Northwest where family annihilation has stunned communities. Experts in criminal psychology warn that these acts are often premeditated and rooted in cycles of despair, control, or untreated mental illness. The Shorts case became part of a much larger, troubling narrative how ordinary homes sometimes hide extraordinary darkness. Family annihilation cases raise haunting questions. Why does a parent, the very person meant to protect, turn into the destroyer? Experts say there are often warning signs: withdrawal, erratic behavior, threats of violence, or signs of untreated psychiatric disorders. Yet in many cases, those around the family never see the final explosion coming. With Brian, the unanswered questions remain. Did untreated mental illness drive him to this point? Was the act spontaneous, or had he been planning it? And could this have been prevented if intervention came sooner? Today, the Shorts' home remains a grim reminder of what unfolded that September morning. The case is officially closed as a murder-suicide, but the emotional scars on the community run deep. Families across Minnesota were left shaken, holding their children tighter, questioning what dangers might lurk even in the safest of homes. The cousin, Michael, launched the fundraiser to help cover funeral costs. He wrote that the incident had left family and friends in deep sorrow. Karen's was a loving mother, wrote Michael, and her children were full of life and promise. The state police did not specify that the members of the household were a family, but Karen and Brian was identified as a couple who co-owned the property. Karen's cousin, meanwhile, said that the three children had great plans for the future. On their funeral, friends of Brian took time to speak about what an amazing man he was and how much he loved his family. Brother-in-laws and friends from work made their welfare wishes as well. The Shorts family tragedy is one of the darkest stories to come out of Greenwood in recent years. 5 lives ended in silence, in the very place they should have felt safest, their home. And while the investigation may be closed, the questions it raises will echo far longer. In every tragedy, there are lessons, but sometimes those lessons come too late. This is Tales of Crime and Mystery, where we uncover the truths buried in shadows. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.